Yeah, it's a good segue too. I mean, to talk about how everybody has to have a Web3 strategy. One of my traditional questions that I ask all my guests, and then compile in a playlist so you can hear the variety of the answers, is, how do you define or explain Web3 to people? So, Brian, how do you do that?
Web3 is the third evolution of the internet from Web 1, which was having a website where people could read and interact with your content or information, to Web 2, where people could read and write. They could get out there and create and do things on social platforms like Facebook or YouTube, to Web 3, where people can read, write, and own, where you can have true ownership of your digital assets. That's how I define Web 3. That can take the form of a non-fungible token or digital collectible. It could take the form of a token of some sort, or it could take the function of some type of shared ownership and governance, using a crypto native company or DAO. So that's kind of how I think about Web3, and it encompasses all of those areas.
Yeah, and right before that, you said something that really aligns with, how people think about Web3 right now, which is that, Web 1 early on of the internet, you were going to get left behind if you didn't think websites were a big deal. And then when Web 2 comes along, you're going to get left behind if you think that social media is not a big deal. That's why, look, I haven't gotten on TikTok yet, but like every time there's something, I always try to get on, right? Like it may not turn into the point where I'm like sending snaps with my friends trying to get streaks, but like I at least get on so that I understand and I don't become that, oh, nobody needs that kind of technology guy.
I mean, look, go back and read about it if you're too young to remember it. I'm old enough to remember it. But when the internet started, it was don't put your credit card into that website.
Yeah.
And people were not comfortable putting their credit card and buying things online in Amazon.
Brian,
just
Brian,
20 years ago.
I have to admit, and I will not name this person, but a friend of mine who is older, I told him we just started a foundation, as you know, and we were putting in the donation button. He goes, well, how are you going to make sure people trust you to put their credit card in to make a donation? And I'm like, what? That's not that what?
Like, look, and the same thing happened when we moved to Web 2. When we moved to the social networks, it's, you're being catfished. These people aren't real. They're all fake. They're all trying to scam you. They're going to pull
Silk
you in.
Road.
And look, I think that we're hearing the same kind of things now. There was a fabulous podcast I listened to a couple months back with Mark Andreessen and Chris Dixon from A16Z, talking about how all these challenges and concerns, the usability issues, the user interface issues, the scams, the stealing of things from people's wallets, these are like punch list items for the builders of today, right? People are out there now. They're leaving their jobs in traditional tech and Web 1 and Web 2 companies, and they're joining and starting new companies who are taking all these challenges, all the things that we all know is broken today in Web 3. And man, it's just a punch list. They're just, they're going to knock their way through these items, and it's going to take a little while. And it's the same thing. Look, it took time before eBay integrated PayPal, before credit cards became secure online for buying things, before there were different ways to connect with people in the Web 2 world, before there were more tools for creators. It takes time. These things will get a lot better fast. There are incredibly smart people leaving some of the best companies in the world to build in this space. They're getting backed by a very large group of many billion, over $10 billion in venture money has been raised specifically for Web3 in the last year alone. So the biggest venture firms are backing some of the smartest individuals in the space. And they're going to treat all these challenges, all these problems, everything everyone says is wrong with Web3. They're going to treat these like, a to-do list. And they're going to start knocking these things out. And we're going to see just an amazing leap in this. And look, it's going to take some leadership out of Apple and Google, who control 90+% of the mobile phone market. Web3 does not work well with mobile today. But once Apple and Google decide to get into the space, find a way that they're comfortable getting in, it's going to be an enormous move. It's going to be the same thing. Look, when Web 2 was built, Facebook was just a website for a very long time.
And it was not early to the mobile game.
No. And there were big questions on whether they even needed mobile for Facebook. and what mobile would look like and how it would work. Before, and obviously now everything is mobile. So once Apple and Google really embrace Web3, find a way to get into it, get comfortable with it. When the more traditional banking systems get more comfortable with it and find integrations to it, those things are going to start to happen very, very, very quickly. And I think, look, it won't happen tomorrow. It might take a year, 2 years, 3 years, but these things are going to move very fast.
Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting because that's just the cycle. That's the S curve here is extremely fast. They're a lot closer together if you were to visualize this in Web3, because we always talk about how a month is a year or what have you.
It definitely feels like dog years.
There you go.
The speed at which things are getting done here is just amazing. I mean, look, NBA Top Shot sold $1 billion worth of products for a company that basically didn't exist in 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
What other products have had $1 billion in sales? Maybe some physical products like the iPhone did $1 billion in its first year or something. I'm not exactly sure what those numbers are, but I would assume they're in that kind of size and scale. But that's a physical product. I mean, think of a software product that sold $1 billion in a year in its first year of existence, first 2 years of existence from a startup. This wasn't like an established company adding in something. Apple was a very established company by the time it launched the iPhone.
It was a pivot too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I just think we're going to see things happen very fast. There's I don't know, 5-10 million serious users of these projects at this point, of these products now. If you take away, kind of digital ownership of Bitcoin, and you'd say that's kind of a different category, consumer uses of Web3, we're going to see some big things launch that are going to bring in tens of millions of users, whether it's a video game from an existing player like a Fortnite or Roblox or somebody integrating NFTs who already have tens of millions of users, bringing that into their game, whether it's the continued movement by some of these big brands, the NBA, the NFL, Warner Brothers movie studio and so on, who are embracing NFT collectibles. It's just going to keep growing from here.